Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our next installment of the Open Lab. As always, if you're on Facebook or YouTube, just click on the comments and we'll see those if you have questions throughout this, and we'll get those addressed for you. Today we have a very special guest, Kim V. She's the HR administrator here at InventoryLab. So she's going to talk to us about remote hiring, the hiring process at InventoryLab, what helps, what hurts, some do's and don'ts when you're applying, and most importantly, what not to do when you don't get the position. So stay tuned for that. So here we go. Hey, Kim, thanks for joining me.
Hey, Jeff. Nice to be here.
How are you? Oh, you know what?
Doing all right? What?
Before we get started, I wanted to show you some footage of this band. I took this at the Double Deuce recently. So,
cool. Jeff,
aren't they great? Aren't they great?
It looks great, but I can't hear anything.
Oh, you can't hear it?
No.
Well, apparently you don't have a set of the IL earbuds.
Nice.
The sound would come through fantastic for you. So if you're interested in a set of these, make sure you comment in the comments field on either Facebook or YouTube, and you'll be entered into the drawing we're going to have later for this awesome item, as well as some other swag. So, but anyway, I guess more to the point, let's get to your topic.
Okay. I mean, and I know HR, scintillating stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I
couldn't sleep last night. I was so excited.
A little sleep. It's exciting. First time being filmed for the internet too. So.
Is that right?
It really is. Yeah. So yeah, now I'm going to be out there. Now I can't say that I'm not out there anymore. I'm really going to be out there.
No longer off the grid.
No longer off the grid. No, sorry. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Okay.
I think.
Yep, it's showing.
It is showing. Okay, cool. All right. So first, the boring stuff. So this is just about me. Born and raised in upstate New York. For anyone that knows anything about InventoryLab, we actually are based in Missouri, but we are a completely remote team. So we have people spread out through, I think it's 14 different states. So I'm in upstate New York, where out the window, it's beautiful, but it's really, really cold. And I'm sure a lot of people are dealing with this too. So professionally, I have pretty much worked in customer service and or administrative positions for about 30 years. So I'm totally dating myself. So yeah, it's been a long time. I started with InventoryLab in 2016. And I like to say I fell into HR work, because I didn't really do a lot of HR stuff until I got to InventoryLab. And then it was part of the job, and I did it. And once I got over my fear of it, I actually enjoyed it. And so last year I was able to obtain an APHR certification, which is an associate professional in human resources. Yep.
Congrats.
For fun, I just like to read and write, spend time with my husband and 2 kids, listen to a lot of true crime podcasts and watch a lot of true crime documentaries, root for the Chicago Bears, and then wonder why the Bears. So that's me in a nutshell. What do I do? So I'm not going to bore you guys with all the details. I do all admin tasks, all HR and onboarding for new employees. I work with our accountants on federal and state taxes, which is, a small nightmare. But, we work with some great people out in Missouri. We have a great tax firm. So they make things a lot easier for us. Anything having to do with any of those states our employees work in, anything for compliance, I handle invoicing, account management, and mail. Contact for the most of the third-party vendors and corporate partners. And most of the IL blog postings that you see are me, even if it says InventoryLab. It's just because I don't want to put my name on a lot of stuff. So I just kind of look at it as like, oh, this is really the company. So
you're the genius behind the blog curtain then.
Yes, Jeff, the genius behind that.
So you mentioned one thing I thought was all state compliance matters. And so that can get pretty dicey with a remote team.
Yes, it is. It's because, and it's not that I need to know off the top of my head, what all the compliance issues. Believe me, every state lets me know if we are
Yeah.
having any issues with the tax filings or, anything like that. They let me know. And if it's something that's a little above my knowledge, which it often is, I go straight to the accountants. They help me. So I've really gotten to know way more about taxes than I ever wanted to. But I think it's good though. It's good to have all that knowledge, and because again, it makes me feel when something pops up now, there's no panic. I
Yeah.
can handle it. So that's always good. So basically going into the basics of remote hiring. So what small businesses and job seekers should know. Now, again, I'm not an HR expert. This is all based on my own experience, especially with InventoryLab. A lot of it is common sense. And this is what I found through my experience, what works, what doesn't work. But first, we're going to have some statistics. So as you guys all know, ever since COVID hit about a year ago, and it's hard to believe it's been a year because on the one
Yeah.
hand, it feels like it's been about 5 years, but it was only a year ago. So remote working was already on the upswing. So if you look at the graph on the right, you can see that huge number at the bottom over the last 12 years, 159% growth. So companies were already starting to see the benefits of remote work and already starting to jump on that. So right now we have about 42% of the US workforce is doing some kind of remote work. Now it might not be full-time, might just be part-time, but at least almost half of the workforce is doing some kind of remote work.
Oh,
And a recent Upwork study predicted that by 2025, 36 million Americans will be working remotely full-time. So that's an increase of 87% from pre-COVID numbers. That's a huge jump. 16% of all American businesses currently hire exclusively remote employees, just like we do. So, you really are seeing it was already on the upswing, and COVID just kind of,
yeah.
just really, it just went through the roof. A lot of benefits to working remotely for both employers and employees. So if you're someone who already works remotely, you know the benefits of being an employee. For employers though, it's very cost saving. I mean, you don't have to have a brick and mortar building and all of the costs that are associated with that. You usually just have to supply your employees with the equipment that they need to do their work successfully.
Yeah.
Higher employee retention, because when people have flexibility, they're happier. They don't have to scramble to figure out, who's going to get their kid off the bus or how are they going to go to the next doctor's appointment.
Hmm.
They know that they can, they have the freedom to be able to work those things out. I used to work for a very large insurance company who shall remain unnamed. And pretty much every minute of my day was mapped out, and only a certain number of people could ever have a certain day off. And it didn't matter what you had going on. It could be something extremely important, it could be surgery, and you still might not be able to get that day off. So you might have to get
Wow.
like a special permission from your manager. Yeah, it was a whole thing.
Yeah. In my past life, we had to put in our time a year in advance. I
Right.
don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know how
Who knew
anybody
you could
knows
go
a
a
year in
year?
advance. Yeah. You
And
just took a
imagine
guess.
when COVID hit. People
Oh,
are like,
yeah.
"Oh, so I guess all those plans I had, that's not gonna."
Yep.
So there's no flexibility in a lot of jobs, and that leads to more productive employees. And the reason is because people, again, happier, more flexible. They can take breaks as they see fit. Usually, they can if it's easier for them, if they have an employer who says, "Look, you're not on a specific time frame. You just need to get your work done." Because obviously there are some remote jobs like our customer champions who are on a set
Hmm.
schedule. But a lot of employees are just told, get your work done and it doesn't matter. So if you're more productive after the kids go to bed, or if you're just more productive because you're comfortable, you're in your own home, you can sit there in your
Yeah.
pajamas and do your work. Um, Again, with remote work, bigger talent pool to draw from. If you're in a brick and mortar building, that's who's going to come interview, right? The people in that area. If you're hiring from all across the country, that's a huge talent pool to draw from. And you're also going to get more experienced and qualified candidates, again, because you're opening up the pool to so many other people. It's going to make your business more competitive because you're able to offer that flexibility. And environmentally minded, it reduces your carbon footprint to not have the brick and mortar building and all of the things that go with that. Employees, a lot of the same kinds of benefits that I already talked about. Better work and life balance and the flexibility. saves you money because you're not spending money on, let's say, extra lunches or on your commute. The fact that you don't have to commute is, especially in bad weather, is huge for people. It reduces stress, which makes them happier overall. They have more employment options for employees with health issues or disabilities. If you're the person who's like, look, I can work full time and I want to work, but it's really difficult for me to get to an office every day because of my
Oh,
limitations.
right.
Think
Yeah.
about that. You can just work from your home and still be just as productive an employee. And you have the freedom to work from anywhere. So like people like you, Jeff, like, sometimes you're working from a home space and sometimes, you're on the road or sometimes you're working from a Starbucks and you
Yeah,
have the
that was really
freedom.
the job at Inventory Lab was really the motivation or the opportunity, I should say, for us to full-time RV for 4 years. You know,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And,
so,
and so and of course, that's what a lot of people are looking for. So, knowing when and how to hire. So, obviously, every company is different. An employer needs to look at the company's current needs and the future growth, the number of current employees, overhead costs, and hiring budget. And companies can either seek out candidates, what we used to call, I don't know if it's a term anyone uses anymore, but headhunting, where you
all right.
actually pursue people that you think would be a good fit, or you can just place your job postings online. So, there's a lot of websites that are out there. We specifically usually post on We Work Remotely and Working Nomads, but there are other big ones like Flex Jobs, Remote OK, Upwork, and Home with the Kids, and they all cater to remote jobs. And another big benefit of using websites like that is if you already work remotely, there's a good chance you know about these websites when you're looking for a job. And so a lot of times, not all, but a lot of the candidates will already have remote experience, which is something that's always good because, one thing we look for when we hire someone is, how do you do working by yourself and not necessarily in person with other people? How do you shut out
Yeah,
distractions? People who are used to working remotely usually um, can navigate all those things pretty easily. All right, so some remote hiring do's and don'ts. And this is for businesses, obviously. So do craft a job posting that reflects the company culture and voice. One thing that we hear a lot, Jeff, from a lot of candidates when we post a job, and we just had a job posting for customer champion, is they love the tone of the posting. And it's because it reflects a lot of personality. It completely
yeah,
encapsulates our company culture, and that really draws people in. So if you're a company that feels like you're unique and you feel like you have something really special to offer, reflect that in the job posting because we've all looked for jobs online and we know you go through so many postings that are just so dry and so
oh
boring,
yeah,
so corporate, and that, when I got this job back in 2016, this is what drew me in, was that job posting, the wording of it. I think it's really important to, if you're looking for someone specific, that you really need to make sure that that's reflected.
that's quite a difficult thing to do too, isn't it?
It
I
it i-
mean,
it is. I mean, I think that for us, because we have people in charge that are already creatively minded and
yeah,
really understand the importance of that. So I think on our end, it wasn't really that difficult. But I imagine that if you're someone who is really used to a corporate culture, it can be very difficult. But
yeah,
I say, you know what? You can still sound professional and still have fun in the job posting.
yeah.
So
There you go.
go for it. Okay. And then use the job posting resources that will draw in the candidates you want. So if you don't want to get inundated with people that maybe aren't a good fit, avoid the websites that are just pulling in anyone. You get big sites like Indeed and Monster, and not that they're not good websites. It's just that if, let's say, you're a tech company and you really want to narrow it down to people who have a tech experience, there are other websites, remote websites that really cater to those kinds of job postings. And that's where you're going to find most of the people that you're looking for. Ask trusted employees for referrals. Now, obviously, there's no guarantee that someone that gets referred to us is going to get hired. They have to go through the process just like everybody
Right.
else. But it's always great when you have someone already working for you that you trust and you know well, and whose judgment you trust, to refer someone. And if it works out, great. Like I said, it doesn't always work out, but it is a really good resource to use.
Yeah, there's
Research.
some people I don't think I'd ever refer, but yeah,
There's lots of people
especially
that I'm
some.
friends with, Jeff,
Yeah,
that I would never refer. I actually had that situation, and I kid you not. I had a friend who was interested, and it was just someone I just would not have recommended for the job. Great friend, but
Yeah.
wouldn't recommend for the company.
I'm thinking of a particular family member of mine that has asked me in the past. It's like, nope.
Yeah,
Nope.
I think everyone probably has a story like that and I think it's because, we all talk about how great it is to work here. So everyone's like,
Yeah.
oh, great. Well, then I should work there. No, not necessarily. Um, so when you're job posting, research, find out what the competitive benefits and salaries are for similar positions. Cause if you don't, you're already dead in the water. It is a very competitive environment out there. A lot of people are looking for remote jobs, tons of people, especially since COVID hit. So if
Yeah.
you really want quality candidates, you've got to offer what they're looking for because now they have lots of choices. If you go back 5, 10 years, the pickings were very slim for remote hiring as compared to now.
Yeah.
Now
Now it's a buyer's market,
the
basically.
market is saturated.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you really have to do something to stand out. Make sure you find candidates who are not only qualified, but whose personalities are a good fit. So this is huge, and people tend to not think about this. So when you're hiring and when you post something, chances are a very large amount of people whose resumes you look through are going to look qualified. They're going to have the background and the experience and the skills, which is great. But if I've got 10 people that I've narrowed it down to, and they all have similar backgrounds and similar experience and similar skill sets, the thing that might help them stand out is their personality. So, what you want to think about your team. Is this
Hmm.
person's personality type going to fit in? Are they good with teamwork? Are they a good collaborator? Do they take direction well? And those are all things that if you have a really good and thorough hiring process, you should be able to figure out. And that's to us, it's just as important because you could be someone who's highly qualified. And if your personality isn't going to fit with the team, then it's a waste of our time. So
Yeah.
don't publish a job posting with spelling and grammatical errors.
Oh my.
This drives me crazy. Crazy. I mean, if there was a job with actual grammar police, that's what I would be doing with my life. It tells me if I'm looking for a job, it tells me you didn't read it, you didn't proofread it, you don't care. You just don't
Yeah.
care. I mean, really, there's no excuse. People can use Grammarly. You can look up words on the internet. There's just no excuse. And it takes about 5 minutes to really thoroughly look over a job posting. So please, anyone posting a job, make sure you check. Don't use any exclusionary or discriminatory language. I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Obviously. Don't leave out pertinent information. People need to know what the job's about or they're not going to bother applying. If you leave out job duties, if you don't tell people if the job is full-time, part-time, on a contract basis, they might be wasting their time and they might be wasting your time by applying. Make sure you include everything. Now, I know a lot of job postings don't necessarily include salary. I know there are reasons for that. I'm a big believer in full transparency. I fully believe that, we need to put our salary out there or even a range, depending on your experience, that's fine. But again, that way you're not wasting people's time, they're not wasting yours. Don't ask candidates questions in the interview process that are discriminatory or even have the appearance of being so. And so there are a lot of questions that people have been asked in interviews. I mean, I have stories too, but there are certain things you just can't ask. For instance, what you can ask is, how long have you lived in New York? You can ask someone that. What you can't ask them is, do you own your own home? Who lives with you?
Oh,
Are you married? Do you have kids? You can't ask those things. And there's a lot of, like I said, legal quagmires when it comes to questions. One good piece of advice, just don't even ask ever anything about religion, race, gender identity, sexual orientation, or relatives. Just avoid those questions because they're usually have nothing to do with the job. They're not germane to the interview process.
you'd think
Um,
that'd be obvious too to a
you would
company, but
think
I'm
that,
sure that they
but
still
then
do
you
it.
would be shocked. I'm sure if we talk to people, we would get lots of horror stories about the things that they've
Yeah.
been asked. For instance, you can't ask someone like, and that's not the only kind of, there's a lot of discrimination out there. You can't discriminate against someone based on their age. So you can't ask them, so when did you graduate high school? Or how old are you? You can't ask a woman, "Are you pregnant?"
Well,
or "Do you plan
thank
to become pregnant?"
thankfully, you can't do that, looking at my
Right.
white hair, so
Exactly. Don't ask people about their credit, their any bankruptcy history. Just don't ask any of those questions. And if you're not sure what you can and can't ask, just go on a reputable site. You should, there are resources out there that can help you figure out, what. And if you're not sure, I always say when you're not sure, just don't bother. Don't ask, and don't rush the process. Later
yeah.
on in my presentation, I'm going to go over how we hire somebody, and you'll see that it's a step-by-step process. But in the end, rushing through it is not going to get you the best candidates. Now, the do's and don'ts of applying. So if you're somebody who's a job seeker and you're looking for a remote position, these are some do's and don'ts for that. Do read the posting carefully. We've had a lot of people who did not do that and then ask questions later and are shocked to learn some information that was already in the posting. Sometimes it is about salary, sometimes it's about availability. Sometimes they will say something to us and call us Inventory Labs with an S at the end.
Oh,
We didn't read the job posting carefully. And that drives us
that's a
crazy.
that's a surefire way to get you out of the
It
hiring
really
pool.
is. It really is. Apply as early as possible. If you see a job you like, jump on it, because chances are if
Yeah,
it's to you, it's speaking to a lot of other people. And so just as an example, when we posted this last position for customer champion, we got, almost 1,000 applications, and
wow,
we went through
yeah,
every single one of them. So apply as early as possible when, we're excited, and, whoever's got eyes on it is a little fresher and a little less worn down by the process. So it's always a good idea. Include a cover letter. Lots of people do not include cover letters, and I think some people think they're old fashioned.
yeah,
And again, Jeff, you and I are from a generation where like that's what you do. And I
right,
still maintain when you include a cover letter, that gives you a chance to really let your personality shine through. That gives us a chance to get to know you before we actually talk to you. And it might
yeah.
pique our interest a little bit more than just a plain old resume.
Because the resume is kind of dry. At least with a cover
Resumes are
letter, you
super
can kind
dry.
of show your personality, like you
Yeah.
mentioned previously. Let that
If you've got
personality
some
shine
right.
through.
And it really depends. So like if you're applying for a job where you can tell by the language of the job posting that this is a company that has a sense of humor, don't be afraid to
Yeah,
be funny. If you're funny. I mean, if you're not funny, it might
yeah,
not work that well. But if you're funny, let it go. And again, let your personality shine through. Proofread, and then proofread again. Please, 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 people, when you are applying for a job, check your grammar, check your spelling, check for any oddness in the spacing. It doesn't take that long. And I can tell you from personal experience, if I am looking at your resume and I am seeing misspellings and grammatical errors all over the place, I'm not going to read any further. And trust me, like I said, even though we get a lot of resumes, we look through every single one, every single one. So if I see that you're not taking the time, that tells me you pay no attention to detail, and
yep.
it's okay that you just don't care. And those things might not be true, but that's what it's telling me. Don't submit a resume or cover letter with spelling and grammatical errors, obviously. Don't directly email someone in the company. So when we post a job, sometimes instead of actually going through the online process as it's laid out, people will email somebody in the company directly, and a lot of times they don't know what our email format is. So they'll just kind of like spam a bunch of different, they might email me at, Kimberly at,
Right.
InventoryLab.com or something like that until they
Or support.
find
I'll
something,
reach out to support.
send it through support.
Please
This
don't do that.
again, the message that we get when you do that is that you're not paying attention and you're not following the process that we have very carefully laid out. We do that for a reason, and we don't want people spamming us with email saying, I'm interested in the job. If you're interested, apply online like everyone, please. Don't apply for jobs for which you are wildly under or overqualified for. So, and again, this just is common sense. You don't want to waste your own time or a potential employer's time. Know your limits. I mean, if I'm applying for a job, I'm not applying to be a software engineer. I don't know anything about software engineering, and I'm not going to apply for a job that requires me to do that. And also know what you're worth. Don't apply for jobs that, where if you think that you don't have anything to offer. And a good example of this is, so we get a lot of people applying, that maybe have never worked for a tech company before. They've never worked remotely, and maybe they've never answered tickets or done live chats. But if they have customer service background, and they have, experience in other areas that we think would serve them well as, say, a customer champion, and they have a great personality, sometimes that's enough to put you
Yeah.
through. So again, don't shortchange yourself by thinking, oh, I could never. I mean, obviously, again, if it's something really technical or something that requires, years of experience or a degree, again, know your limitations. But
Yeah.
if it's kind of a broad thing, customer service, even if it's for a company type that you've never worked with, give it a shot. And don't rush through the application process, it shows. And I think I pretty much covered that. So, other tips to keep in mind. Sell yourself. I've said it before, I've said it again. Just make sure that, you're letting your real personality shine through. You know what? I mean, maybe not everyone will like it, or everyone, might not respond to it, but keep doing it, because there is a good match for you out there. So don't be shy. Commit the time necessary to find a right job. So when I was looking for a job, when I worked for the insurance company, I would typically spend almost all my free time, and especially after my kids went to bed, I committed like 4 hours every night. I acted as
Oh,
if it
yeah.
was a second job. So, and you might not be able to commit that kind of time, and that's okay. But make sure that you are committing, a reasonable amount of time to find the right job. It is out there. It took me 4 months. You know how it can take forever. Again, something that people think is a little old-fashioned, but I really appreciate. Follow up any kind of interview or voice-to-voice contact with a brief professional email to the appropriate person. So if someone has talked to me already, or they've talked to somebody else in the company,
Mhm.
typically, if we talk to someone, we're giving them contact information to say, hey, if you have any questions, email me. And it goes a long way to send that follow-up email. It doesn't have to be anything special. It can just say, hey, thanks so much for your time today. I really
Right.
appreciate the opportunity. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to reach out. I mean, it really can just be that simple. Try not to take rejection too personally. So Jeff knows. So, again, 1,000 people apply, and if we
Yeah.
hire 2 people, that's 998 people that didn't get the job. So please don't take it personally. I mean, it's there's so many factors that go into it. So you just have to keep going. So that brings me to my next point. Resist the urge to send an angry response if you don't get the email, or if you don't get the job. We've had this. This is
Yeah.
actual the true stories. We had people reject our rejection with expletive-filled emails. Somebody who was real creative just sent a middle finger emoji. I really don't recommend that. Now,
Yeah. It's not a good look.
it's not a good look. And and here's the thing. You may never apply to our company again. So you may look at it like, well, what have I got to lose? It's not like, Inventory Lab's going to start talking to other companies and they don't know who I've applied, to.
Right.
Um, but again, it's just not a good look. It's just, again, I
And
go back to not taking it personally. It's not
I
personal.
think they miss an opportunity to actually get some improvement advice. You could have actually changed that into an email follow-up saying, thanks for the opportunity. How can I do better in future interviews? What should I have
Absolutely.
focused on?
Mhm.
And
And we've had people do that. And
yeah,
if I get that email, I'm more than happy to give some feedback.
yeah,
But also, you're kind of just, again, you're putting yourself in a mindset that's not going to
right.
be conducive to finding the right job or to finding any job. So try to resist the urge to do that. And also, if you're sending an angry email to someone, you've lost your opportunity now for me to consider you down the road, because we actually have some people that we really maybe liked, but we could only hire one person, let's say, or 2 people, and we're thinking,
Mhm.
oh, that person that was in slot 3 and 4, we really like them, and we'll keep them in mind later down the road. Well, guess what? If you send me an email that has a bunch of F-bombs in it, I'm not gonna consider you for anything.
Yeah,
So think about that too. Don't get discouraged either. Again, when I was looking for a job, it took 4 months, and it takes a long time to find the right job. If you're real serious about it, and you're not just looking for something to pay the bills until you do find, your dream job, don't give up. I promise the right job is out there for everyone. So here's our hiring process. So you can see we've got basically, I broke it down into 6 steps. We publish our job posting. Like I said, we first for hiring software, we use something called Workable, which is a great tool. And then we post on We Work Remotely and Working Nomads. And also, you can, like, our link is usually, it's on Facebook and YouTube and stuff. So it definitely gets to a lot of people. So we post that. Then the applications and the resumes start coming in. It's so funny because every time they'll just kind of trickle in, be like, oh, cool, we've got 3 or 4. And then you'll go in the next day and all of a sudden it's 250. So it's funny. It trickles and then all of a sudden the floodgates open at some point, and you get a lot. So that's what we do. We have a team. So it's not just me. We have a team. We review applications and resumes. If we like what we see, we narrow that down to people that are going to move on to phone screenings. And the phone screening will be a conversation with me, obviously over the phone. And it's kind of an informal way of getting to know someone. I definitely ask them questions to see what their work habits are like, what their experience is like, how they handle tough situations. But I'm also getting a feel for their personality. And that's a really, really good first step to doing that. The next step, if you pass the phone screening, the next step is an assignment. So it really depends on the job. So for the customer champions, it was a logic puzzle, basically. And for my position, it was, and I was just telling Jeff yesterday.
Yeah, this is great.
I got hired as the administrative assistant, and I had a whole project to do. And basically they asked me to create a pretend itinerary, or no, it was just a budget for a team meeting. So we were all going to meet in person. That was the scenario I was given. So I told Jeff, I said, and this goes back to, don't be shy, kind of just get yourself out there. Don't be afraid. So I thought, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. I can't wait to do this. And so when I did the project, I not only did a budget, but I created a fake itinerary. I keep wanting to say inventory. I created a fake itinerary for every day of the meeting. And I remember sending it to Elizabeth, our operations manager, and saying, hey, in a nutshell, I don't remember, I'm paraphrasing, but kind of like, I hope you don't think I'm a psycho, but I did a little bit more than what you asked me to do. But that was pretty much what got me the job. So again, don't be afraid to go above and beyond. Sometimes that's what actually gets you noticed. And then after we do the assignment, then we do face-to-face virtual interviews. So basically we set up a date and time. And for the customer champions, they were talking to Chrissy, who is our customer happiness manager. And she just did, Google Meets with them. And she had, her own set of questions that were different than mine. They were more involved. And it allowed the candidates to ask a lot more involved questions about the job specifically. And then after all of that, we make a group decision. So it takes, just from beginning to end, our hiring process can take anywhere from like 3 to 4 weeks, sometimes a little bit longer. It depends on how many candidates. It depends on when people are available for the phone screenings and then the interviews. So there's a lot to it, but I still think that we have a really great method. I think that being this thorough, again, allows us to find the best candidates who are not only qualified, but are going to fit into our culture.
Yeah, I think you have it down to a science. It goes pretty smooth, fairly quickly.
It really does. It really does. Yeah. So does anybody have any questions? Are you curious about anything? Like I said, I can't speak for all companies. I can only speak for ours. But, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Yeah, well, we're waiting for
inventory about, our actual software. And that's totally understandable.
Well, while we're waiting for some questions, I saw one comment from Baldy. He wanted to know what he missed about the swag. So,
oh, okay, cool.
Little earbuds there, Baldy. If you win, you'll get a set of these, and some other things as well. But that's one of the items. Some nice little earbuds there. So
they are cute. I have a set too. They're really cute.
They actually sound pretty good. I'm pleasantly surprised. You never know what you're going to get with earbuds, but
you really don't. Yeah. But they're super cute. And I love the fact that they come in a little charging case too.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
So I had a comment, maybe it's not really a question, but so I think when you're getting ready for parts of those interviews, make sure you test your stuff. If you're an applicant, make sure you test Google Meet,
absolutely.
do with a family member or something.
Yep. What a great comment. Something I entirely forgot. Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you're prepared. We have had people have issues with either the laptop or during the phone screens. I've had people actually have issues with their phone.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Sometimes it's just one of those, oh, it figures kind of things where they haven't had any issues. And it's just that day, just that day. And at that moment, they suddenly have a problem. But yeah, that's a great thing to bring up. Definitely test out your software.
And do you think for job seekers, there's a lot of, I know growing up, I was always like, I think it was my grandma, she did some stuff like, putting stamps on envelopes. That's the thing that comes to mind. But there's some work from home sites that maybe are not exactly legit.
So
But
I know what you're talking about. And so there are some that are not, I'm sure there are some out there that aren't really legitimate or just aren't telling you
yeah,
everything. I think a lot of those are, yeah. And I remember, Jeff, the days of stuffing envelopes.
yeah,
So some of those job websites are more for like transcription or just data entry, just really mundane, kind of really boring work. And if that's something that you want, and if you're just looking for something that's just kind of, you're not really thinking about it too much, those are definitely out
yeah.
there. Um,
I
but
suppose you
yeah,
could search for remote or distributed teams or something like that when you're looking for those sites or jobs.
yeah, I mean,
Might narrow it
I would,
down.
and like I said, some of the job sites that I mentioned, those are really the best ones that we've found, and I would definitely recommend, especially we work remotely, working nomads, flex jobs. You know, there's a lot of really reputable, and you can do. I mean, you could do a Google search, and you can look for some reputable sources. Like for instance, I mean, even like a lot of this, some of the statistics I got, we're just going through the US, Statistics Bureau. I mean, you
Right.
want to make sure it's not just somebody else's blog because I could put anything out there. I could say anything is true. If it's on the internet, it must be true, right? So you just want to just be careful of your sources, like the BBB, I'm sure has, information. Better Business Bureau,
Right.
that's a great place to go to find out best practices or to find out which companies are rated highly. If you do a Google search for a company name, if you're not sure about if it's a scam, I guarantee it's going to pop up with people saying that.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely do your homework. Speaking of homework, actually, that's one thing that I forgot to mention. When you're applying for a job, do homework on the company you're applying for.
Oh,
We are
good point. Yeah.
really impressed when someone comes into, let's say, the phone screen and can tell me what we do, can tell me, explain it well, can tell me how long we've been a company, can tell me who the CEO is, can tell me what our most recent, upgrades are, what our new features are. I mean, usually that'll blow me away. I mean, if there was
Yeah.
any time that it's okay to internet stalk, that's the time. Find out everything you can about the company because it shows me that you care. If you
Yeah,
know
for
something
sure.
about us, then yeah, that definitely makes an impression.
Well, all right. Well, if anybody has any questions at all during the rest of the open lab, feel free to put those in if you think of any. But thank you, Kim. That was a great presentation. I actually
Aw,
learned a bit I
that's
wasn't
fun.
aware of. So
That was
yeah,
really
thank you.
cool.
You want to stick around for the rest of the show, or
I gotta do a shout out here.
yeah?
Rachel Smolansky is one of my best friends.
Hey, Rachel.
So, and I told her, I said, if you pop onto this live, I'm going to call you out. So, hi, Rachel.
Well,
And
Rachel, you
she's
too
actually, it's
could.
funny. It's appropriate too. Rachel actually works in HR too for New York State.
Oh, there you
So,
go.
yep. So, and it really does matter when you know what you're talking about. When you come into that interview and you have all the facts about the company that you're interviewing for, yeah, definitely makes a good impression.
Well,
Hi, Rachel.
nice. Well, let's go on to the next section.
All right.
What do we want to do? Why don't we pop into product updates, and I'll share my screen. We'll just talk about a couple of things that we've recently updated. So some of you might be aware of, let me just pop into a batch here, a little test batch, but you might be aware of the Amazon Prime button right here. So when that is clicked as you're doing your listing items and things like that, you used to get a list of offers, but now Amazon has changed this, and so it was broken for a little while, so we had to track down the link to use, but they don't make it easy. But now when you do that, you do get offers, but you actually have to filter those out. So you have to click on the little filter button here. I just want to see prime offers. So yes, it does take a couple of clicks, but that's really the only way for that to work. So if you've been used to that prime button, you kind of have to go through a few more steps on that now. The other thing that we did, which is fantastic, is when you set up a batch and create a new batch, you can now import your active buy list right from Scoutify. So if you've created batches on Scoutify and they're sitting there on in your app, instead of having to email those to yourself or someone at your warehouse or office or that sort of thing, they can actually just go to select buy list right here from within the app, the desktop app, Stratify, and then they can select one. And so yeah, I could select any of these and then upload the buy list to the batch. So it makes it very easy. You can
That's really cool.
also, yeah, isn't that slick?
Yeah, it really is.
The developers really got that handled well, I think.
Mhm.
You can also do it right from here. So if you want to add to a batch, you also have that option. So I can just still select the same ones and add them right to that batch. So very nice. Well done, developers. Always appreciated. So let's see if we have any more comments, questions for Kim. Not yet. Okay. So Kim, I'll let you pick. Do we want to go into some Amazon news or maybe some, oh, I don't know, quick
Let's
tips?
do Amazon
Amazon
news.
news? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go into Amazon news. So there's quite a bit, actually. There's always Jeff Bezos news now that he's out of Amazon and
He's a
he's
busy
investing
boy.
in the space program and all. Yeah. He and Elon Musk are still battling it out. But so one thing they did update was an update to the shipment closure timelines. So what happens now, you used to be able to leave your working shipments open for quite a while and work on those as you needed to. But now they're going to automatically update to a closed status if they're more than 90 days old. So you really have to watch that if you're used to leaving your working shipments open. Make sure you watch that timeline because they will automatically close in 90 days. Once they're closed, even getting them restored, I mean, we wouldn't be able to restore them with the sync shipments button. So you have to really watch that. Let's see. Another thing that happened or that's available to you is you can become an Amazon seller, obviously. The barriers are pretty low, but one thing that Amazon does have, and they have it as part of their website. So what you can do is you can actually just go to sell.amazon.com and open this up, and you can go to Seller University, kind of learn everything there is to know about selling on Amazon, how that whole process works. So they've got a pretty nice little website here with videos, understanding policies. You always want to make sure you know about those. You don't want to run afoul of Amazon. It's their sandbox, so you don't want to make them mad or they'll kick you out. So also, let's see. Amazon has a Kickstarter program of sorts. Now, that's something that you can actually find in Amazon Seller Central, I believe, under news. Let me switch screens here, and then I'll be able to show you that. I wasn't prepared for this part of it. I think it was Forbes that had the article. Yeah. So for Alexa products, they now have Live shows, always an issue. So there we go. From this Forbes article, kind of cool. They have an Alexa Kickstarter program. So it's kind of a crowdsourcing program. So it lets you vote on which Alexa enabled products will be developed.
Oh, no
And
kidding.
yeah, it's kind of cool.
Huh, that is cool.
And then you get a discount if you buy into these products when they're available. So by participating in this, you get a discount when the items are actually released. So it's day one editions here. Let's see what that says. Yeah, it looks like you can get it right from the Amazon.com site. So check out that video. And looks like they have these concept, a smart cuckoo clock.
That's
Do you have any?
interesting.
Do you have any cuckoo clocks?
I don't know.
My grandma used to have one, but
They're not cheap, you know. You ever
yeah,
price those out? Yeah, they're not cheap.
yeah, very expensive. Smart nutritional scale. You can ask
That's a neat
Alexa
idea.
for.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that idea. That's cool.
Yeah.
And a smart sticky note printer. I suppose I could find some use for that. I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so kind of cool. Look up that. It's their day one editions. That's what you have to search for. So check that out. So let's see. Sorry, I lost my screen. All right, so that's the Amazon news. Let's see what we can do. See if we have any questions. All right, Baldy. IL doesn't give the real-time number of Prime offers. Is there an update soon? Yeah, that information comes from Amazon. They provide that in one of the API or one of the MWS feeds that we use, and so they kind of control that. But you know, we are always looking to get the most accurate information for our customers. But sometimes, again, it's like when you're selling on Amazon, when you're also building software to use Amazon, you kind of have to play in their sandbox. So what's available is available, and so to act within their terms of service, we have to follow their rules. There are some companies that'll screen scrape, that sort of thing, but that's forbidden by Amazon, so we tend to avoid that. But so that's really the only way, is by going to the Prime button and then selecting the filter, because they changed the way that page is now displayed, unfortunately. All right. And Baldy wanted to know, how can you win? Well, Baldy, by commenting, you're already entered into the drawing. So that also includes you, Rachel. You're in there. Kevin, you're in there as well. Who else do we have? Gay. So make sure you comment, so you're going to be eligible for these fantastic swag packages. So, all right. There was some more news, fairly recent. Looks like Amazon has a new selection program. And what that entails is, pull that up here. There we go. And these stories are all available in your news feed in Seller Central. Just go to your Seller Central account and click on news, and then you'll be able to see that. But under the news, it's a new selection program. So they've already got over 60,000 enrolled sellers. But what this does is, starting April 1st this year, for up to 30 units per parent ASIN, right here, free storage for up to 90 days and free removals for up to 180 days for oversized items. So that could save you a lot of money for that. It's pretty cool they're doing this. They're also removing the 500 ASIN limit, allowing an unlimited amount of eligible new to FBA ASINs to qualify for the program. So another cool feature. And also starting April 1st, for eligible parent ASINs, they'll extend free storage from 90 to 100 days for up to 100 units per parent ASIN. And the eligibility for customer returns processing fee waiver from 120 to 180 days. So that's pretty cool. Kind of giving you a break. I'm sure there's a payoff in the long run for that for them, but they don't do anything out of the goodness of their heart, obviously. So, but all right. You know what? Why don't we get into the giveaway?
Is it time?
2 minutes left. I think it's about time.
I think so.
So, yes, we did say swag. So again, get your name in there, and we're gonna spin the wheel. And you know what? We're feeling generous today. This was a good day. It's sunny here in Tulsa. Got the sun shining in.
Too.
Oh, was it? Okay,
yeah,
well,
cold.
Just for that reason, everybody gets swag. So
you get swag, and you get swag.
You get swag, and you
Everybody
get swag.
So,
so reach out to support. Our support portal is right there. You can also reach us at this email address and send us your name. Tell us you were here at the Open Lab, and we'll send you a swag bag with some goodies in it. And so, Baldy, you'll get to check those earbuds out for yourself. So, see, do we have any other questions that we can answer while we're doing this? Yeah, make sure you comment because you don't get a swag bag unless you comment. We're keeping track, so got to comment. All right. Let's see. I know some questions were answered already by Chrissy. Yeah, so if you have any questions, pop those in. We'll get those answered for you. So what's next on the horizon for HR, Kim? Oops, sorry. You're muted.
Forgot that I was muted.
There we go.
So so I think we've got our candidates chosen for customer champions. So basically, there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that I have to do once we make offers and they're accepted. It's a whole process. It's just onboarding and making sure that they have all the information, documentation that they need. There's things that they have to sign, employee agreements, and a lot of boring stuff, quite honestly. But it's all the stuff that has to get done. So, but it's always fun, like bringing new people on board. It always is, and so I hope that whoever we reach out to, I hope they accept. I hope they're excited, and and I think we'll probably be welcoming a couple new customer champions in just a couple weeks.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that'll be exciting.
Yep.
I'm a little disappointed they aren't here, but maybe the next one.
Maybe the next one.
That could be one of those tasks. Figure out when the live shows are and show up.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I'd be impressed. I'd be real impressed. I don't know. Maybe worried. I don't know.
Scared. Yeah,
Scared,
exactly.
right?
We're scared. Right.
It just depends.
Oh, there was one more thing I wanted to.
Oh, Baldy says beautiful weather in Florida. I'll bet. Oh,
nice.
Like I said, it looks nice here in New York, but man, it's cold. I mean, it's been in the 20s.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, we had -2 to -4, and then it was like -40 with wind chill here in Tulsa there during the cold snap, and now it's been 60s, 70s for the last week and a half, something like that. So
that's a big jump.
Complain.
That's really odd too. And Baldy says he loves IL, so thank you.
Oh, nice. Thanks, Baldy.
That's always nice. It's always nice to get some love. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, all right. If we don't have any more questions, I think I'll go ahead and end Open Lab. Yeah, but thanks again for joining me, and thanks everybody else for joining us.
Absolutely. That was my pleasure.
Yeah, and make sure you reach out to support, and we'll get you those swag bags with those fancy items. So, all right. Well, thanks again, Kim.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Take care.
You too. Night,
Thanks.
everybody. See ya.
Night.